After walking out of the movie theater, I breathed a sigh of relief when I realized that I had just witnessed could never happen. I had just finished watching 28 Days Later, which is about a zombie takeover. While the movie scared me, I knew there weren't any such beings as a reanimated corpse. This did pique my interest in the culture of zombies, though. So I read Max Brooks' The Zombie Survival Guide and World War Z. What I didn't realize is that Brooks based the latter novel on desktop models and field exercise prompted by the 2003 SARS outbreak. Through the simulation, he was able to base the book's events using real statistics. Did you know that the CDC has an action plan regarding a zombie outbreak? They are weighing factors and preparing for it. So if so, then there is a possibility of it happening. After listening to my speech, you will learn that the combination of a deadly disease mutation, the lack of a reaction plan, and reckless human behavior can cause a breakdown of society and lead to a zombie apocalypse. When you think of a zombie, you think of a reanimated dead corpse trying to eat your brains. And I know what you must be thinking, and I agree. This seems totally unrealistic. People don't come back from the dead. But what if there was a disease that causes the same symptoms as the zombies exhibit? This would include loss of motor control, confusion, aggression leading to attacks, and of course the obsession with biting flesh. These are the same symptoms as rabies. Rabies is transferred through bite from infected saliva according to the World Health Organization. Rabies is already found throughout the world in common wildlife such as raccoons, skunks, and bats, all of which we come in contact with. So if it already exists, how come it hasn't caused a pandemic? Well, rabies has a low contamination rate because it is only transferred through a bite. Even in countries without preventative measures, such as vaccines, it only kills about 60,000 people a year. The most contagious viruses are airborne, like the COVID-19 that we are experiencing right now. Viruses can also mutate, and that's what makes it so hard to come up with an effective vaccine. So what if rabies can mutate into an airborne virus? Viruses can mutate naturally or can be genetically engineered. Technically, scientists could come across the rabies virus and cross it with the airborne influenza virus. I bet you think this is far-fetched, but genetically altering viruses is already happening. In 2003, there was a scientist funded by the US government to create a deadly strain of mousepox, which would be similar to smallpox in humans. This new virus killed mice that received antiviral drugs as well as a vaccine that would have normally protected them. And this is from New Scientist. So if vaccines couldn't stop this disease, then what will? This could be risky business, especially if the virus was accidentally released or even stolen. This could be the cause of a zombie apocalypse. Imagine a virus that is immune to preventative measures, so it has a 0% recovery rate. All the infected people would stay infected. The population would rely on government to relay important information such as symptoms, infection rates, and steps to contain the virus. Communicating would be the key element in stopping the rate of infection. Countries would have to communicate effectively with their citizens and other countries. And as we have seen with the SARS and COVID-19 virus, this isn't always the case. Even a capitalistic country like the US can fall victim to poor planning and slow reaction time due to disbelief. Misinformation and improperly relaying facts will cost even more lives. Quarantine and treatment would be the best option. But if it started too late, it would only delay the inevitable of spreading the disease. Since this is a new virus, no one would have built up an immunity to it. Vaccine would be needed, but that can take at least a year. Studying the disease would be imperative, but that would mean going to ground zero to get samples from actual zombies, and people would give up hope if there was no cure or treatment. So when people face a negative situation, they are more likely to be in denial or downplay it. According to Robinson and Bridges, who are psychology professors, when exposed to a threat, people often fail to take actions that could improve their chances of survival. This lack of recognizing the severity of the problem will lead to post reaction time. When in denial, people won't follow safety precautions implemented to stop or slow the spread of the virus. This is happening right now with the COVID-19 virus. Some of the population of the US are refusing and even protesting to take safety precautions such as wearing masks to control the spread of the virus. They don't believe they are in any trouble because they don't understand their own mortality. It's denial at its finest. If people can't believe that the influenza virus can kill them, they wouldn't be able to believe that there could be a zombie virus. And most people won't believe it until they see it, and by then it'll be too late. Once a realization of the reality of the zombie virus sinks in, society as we know it will break down. The reason for this is that after denial, self-preservation is the next reaction to a crisis. Every man for themselves. Essentials such as food, weapons, and supplies will be needed. This means that grocery stores, gun shops, and even gas stations will be overrun and robbed. Farming on a large scale will cease to exist. How can they farm when there's no supplies? Not to mention the danger of a zombie attack. Without a constant supply, these grocery stores will shortly run out of food. And no common courtesy will be implemented. This is about survival. Most people want to stock up and move out of the danger zone. This will make transportation impossible. Imagine a busy highway during rush hour, but it's not just the working people trying to get home. It's the entire population of that region trying to survive. This will lead to amped up fight or flight response, which could lead to violence and riots, especially in big cities. These cities are at the highest risk because of the mass population and the proximity of people. With people sick or hurt, they will try to find refuge in hospitals. It won't be long before they are overrun with no cure to subdue the influx of patients. Huge populations of confused people would be the zombies' paradise breeding grounds. And when the government does decide to act, how will the military be able to get into the most hit places? Will they be able to control it? There was a simulation done by the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of, I believe, Leicester that showed that the Earth would be overrun with zombies within 100 days, with about 180 to 273 uninfected survivors. This is, of course, depends on geographical boundaries, a lifespan of a zombie, and survival techniques used by the uninfected. Even in the best case scenario, there were survivors, but it took over 6 years for all traces of zombies to disappear. This is all based on a Forbes article. And based on the definition of apocalypse, this qualifies as an event involving destruction or damage on an awesome or catastrophic scale. So in conclusion, there are many factors that have to happen for a zombie apocalypse to occur, but it is possible with the mutation of disease, careless planning, and human behavior at its worst. It can happen. If you still don't believe me, there's proof happening right now with the disease that can be managed. There are people hoarding goods, fistfights have broken out in grocery stores over toilet paper, and people went straight to gun shops to stock up on ammo. COVID-19 isn't even something that you have to physically combat. And our president hasn't been entirely truthful about telling the country how dangerous this disease is in the beginning of the outbreak. Like I said, the CDC has an emergency preparedness plan on how to respond to a zombie outbreak. So prepare yourselves. First, I recommend reading Max Brooks' book, The Zombie Survival Guide. Then I propose getting an X, hitting up a pet supply store for some food, and heading to the Rockies. Or you could hook up with one of those zombie doomsday preppers. They're always prepared. But most importantly, stay safe and stay alive.